On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by First Fidelity Bank, we jump right into local college football by giving you an OU personnel and practice update. We also break down Oklahoma State's win over Baylor. In the National College Football Roundup, we recap the marquee games of the weekend, including LSU upsetting Florida and North Carolina destroying Miami, and we bring you the latest college football news. We give you our winners and losers of the weekend and wet the Beak with Monday Night Football between the Ravens and Browns. To finish up with the weather we got across the state this weekend, we discuss our favorite things to do in the snow in Keepin It Local. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown.
Remember I asked you, you said it was alright. Go get juice down by the riverbed tonight. So it's late now.
It's a beautiful Monday, December 14th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by First Fidelity Bank. First Fidelity Bank is a full-service financial institution based in Oklahoma with tailored solutions for all your personal and business needs. Checking accounts, saving accounts, home loans, and much more. They do it all, whether it's online banking from your computer or mobile banking from your phone. Everything is stress-free with FFB. Making mobile deposits, paying bills online, and moving money to different accounts could not be easier. Also, First Fidelity Bank provides free ATMs worldwide, making banking convenient wherever you are. They also give back to the community. FFB donates a total of more than $500,000 to local charities and educational foundations. Make your life easier and go bank at First Fidelity Bank. Visit ffb.com for more information. Now, we're recording this on Sunday night, and unfortunately, Ted, while we had a very relaxing weekend with no OU game, we did lose a colleague and friend. Greg Blackwood passed away this weekend. For those of you that don't know Greg, he's worked for Griffin Communications for forever. He's been, one of the main people over there at News 9 for a long time. He's been the spotter for Toby Rowland for the OU radio broadcast since 2011. And he's just a great guy. He's a great guy. And unfortunately lost him to cancer, complications from cancer this weekend. And Ted, you've known Greg a lot longer than I have, but it was always about other people with that guy. I'm very thankful because I hadn't gotten to spend a lot of time with Greg really other than actually during the broadcast, right? And this year with how travel was a little different, I actually got to ride with Blackwood to Ames for the Iowa State game, and there and back spent like 17 hours in a car with him. And we talked about a lot of things. It was the first time I really got to just sit and, have long extended conversations with him. And we talked about his treatment and his battle with cancer and all these things, kind of, his career and all these things. But he would always turn the conversation back to me every time. He wanted to know about, my playing career, about my family. He asked all kinds of questions about my wife, my dogs. That was just kind of the guy he was. He was just so pleasant to be around. And Ted, I know that this is rough for you, man.
Yeah, it's been a rough year, and this is obviously a guy that I've known since I met him on the broadcast too. That's how I first met Greg. He's Toby's spotter. Toby and Greg go way back, News 9 days, obviously. But, Greg is – you hear this a lot that he's one of the best guys I know whenever we talk about somebody. But he literally is probably the nicest man ever. He was unbelievably caring. He would do anything for you. He would sit and talk. He would, whatever you would ever ask for the guy. Just an unbelievably caring guy. And I told him all the time, I was like, you're too nice. There's something going on here, Greg. You're too nice. People are not this nice. There's something wrong. Just to give him a hard time. But you know, there's a couple of people that you will cross paths with throughout your life where you can honestly say that I am better from knowing them. And Greg Blackwood is definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, so for all you out there that, could send prayers, positive vibes, whatever you believe in, send them the Blackwood family's way. It's a loss, obviously, for the OU community, for us personally, but like you said, Teddy, the world is the worst place without that man in it. I truly believe that.
My last text message to him was last week, and it was, "You've got to hurry back. Toby was shitty without you." During the broadcast. So just to make him laugh a little bit, because I know it hurt him that he wasn't there. I think that was the first game that he had missed, and I know he wanted to be there, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a different booth without him for sure.
Yeah. Cancer sucks. This sucks, but everyone do us all a favor. Treat people really well. Be nice to people. That's what Greg Blackwood did, and the world would be a better place if more people were like Greg. He will be missed dearly, no doubt. Okay, so we're going to try to put something entertaining together, even though we start off on a very somber note. So, Ted, let's get to the local college football. That's brought to you by Will and Wiley Hard Seltzer. Guys, stop acting like you're too manly and just accept it. Hard seltzers are amazing. There's only one hard seltzer that we drink on this podcast, and that is Will and Wiley Hard Seltzer from Coop Ale Works. It's perfect for any occasion. We drink it by the pool, at the lake, and at the tailgate. It's made in Oklahoma, and it is absolutely delicious. Will and Wiley is customized for the Oklahoma lifestyle. Go find it right now in a store near you, and go follow them on social media at Will and Wiley. If you're drinking some because of us, tag us in your social media posts to let them know. Okay, let's start with some OU updates. And Ted, I was told that the Oklahoma Sooners had their best week of practice of the entire year this year, and they practiced this weekend. And except for Stogner, right, it sounds like they are completely healthy for the first time in months. So the staff feels really good about where the team is at right now, about how they're, the way that they're preparing for this Big 12 championship game. So on Saturday, they did a little mini simulated game, went through their full pregame warm-up, and then had a quick practice, did some situation stuff. And I think that's really smart by Lincoln, especially with how many guys, especially on that defensive side of the ball, right, that were missing in that Baylor game. It's good to get those guys back into a rhythm, Teddy, kind of get them back in the groove, right?
Yeah, I mean, a simulated game, now you're never going to actually be able to simulate what takes place out there, but to go through the motions, kind of keep the body clock right, whenever you expect to have a game and then you don't. You want to stay on that schedule to where you know what it's like, the wake up schedule. I would guess that they did it for an 11 a.m. kick like we're going to have this coming Saturday. I don't know that, but that would be a guess. And yeah, just go through the paces, continue to practice. Man, it's awesome to have a fully healthy team this late in the season. I mean, that's rare. It's really rare. And not only do we've talked about this before, but not only are we totally healthy, but we've added a bunch of players since we started the season. That's rare as well. So seems like this team is headed in the right direction. Obviously, there's nothing they could have done. I personally still would have liked to have seen them play and try and get right and put a real good game on film before you head into the Big 12 championship. But sounds like they're practicing well. I will say, though, in my experience, a good week of practice means nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. We had an amazing that's something you hear. You always hear coaches like the losing coach in a post-game press conference. Well, we had a great week of practice. I just don't know what happened. It was crazy.
Right. I mean, I've been in weeks where it was like it was just horrible. Every day was horrible. Coaches were in horrible moods. Players were in bad moods. It just was the worst week of practice, and you go out and you play amazing. I've had other weeks where it's like, God, man, I love our game plan. I love what we're doing. I've got a real good feeling about what they're doing offensively, and you go out there and you play horribly. So I don't know what the right mix is, but I guess it's definitely better to practice good than it is bad. But I wouldn't say that just because they've had a great week of practice, that means they're going to own this football game.
They're going to destroy the Cyclones because they practiced. Well, like you said, it's better than practicing really poorly, I suppose. It'd be alarming if the guys on the staff were like, boy, these kids look shitty this week. Like that's certainly not what you want.
I'll just tell you, I had a conversation with a coach before the Baylor game, a defensive coach who said that day was a disaster, and they played their best game of the year against Baylor defensively. So you just never know.
Isn't that funny how that works? One other thing for OU, I thought this was interesting. According to our buddy Ralph Russo of the Associated Press, the Big 12 has determined that if either Iowa State or Oklahoma can't play in the conference title game, a replacement team will be chosen using the conference standings and tiebreakers if necessary. Our man Ralph went through those tiebreakers, and as a result, the replacement team would be the Texas Longhorns. So if there is some catastrophic scenario in Norman or in Ames, Texas will play in the Big 12 championship game. Now, other than this being the dumbest idea I have ever heard, let's just hope it doesn't happen. I could not believe when I was reading, I was like, that can't be right. And then our man Ralph Russo, he checked and double checked and talked to people at the conference office. And yeah, if OU or Iowa State can't play in the Big 12 championship game, Texas shows up and plays in it, which at that point, what are we doing? Like, what are we even doing?
I don't know. I mean, if anything, if I'm trying to think how the saying goes, if something can happen, it will happen, right? It's
What's
like
that, Murphy's Law?
Yes, that's it, Murphy's Law. And you just know that this year, let me ask you this. Let's say Kansas State was the replacement team. Would they put Kansas State in, or would they move the game back?
I would assume. I think they should move it back no matter who. You can't have if your whole thing as a conference is everyone plays everybody and the top two teams play for the championship. Like, you can't have the third place team play in the conference championship game. It makes no damn sense. You just can't do it. You just don't play the game.
If it was any other team other than Texas, I would be like, give me something crazy. I'm down for crazy. This year, let's just make it as crazy as possible. But since it's Texas, no way. It's dumb. I mean, you should be able to get the thing in, bump it back. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything recently on Iowa State. I hope both of these teams are in a real good spot right now. Let's just hope that it doesn't happen. It is dumb. They could move it back, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That would be so horrible. Can you imagine that Texas find their way in because another team was sick and somehow win the game, win a conference championship?
And they're capable of doing it. Like, they're capable of doing it. They got talent,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
But that would be the worst thing imaginable. Can you imagine? They keep Tom Herman, and now all of a sudden, boom! Oh, hey, Big 12 champs. That would be the biggest joke of all time.
It would
Listen,
be better if they fired him and then won it after he was gone.
that would. You're right. We'll get to that whole thing, but my thing with that is because it's a long shot, right? That OU or Iowa State, like a really long shot, that OU or Iowa State are in the college football playoff picture, right? I mean, I know it's not impossible, but it is a long shot. So if one of those teams can't play for some reason, why don't you just push the game a little bit? Why have a team that finished in third place, and they didn't even really finish in third place when you look at the rankings? It's Texas because of some weird tiebreaker because they didn't play the same number of games as Oklahoma State. I don't know. It's confusing. But just push the game, right? Who cares about the college football playoff selection show? Neither of these teams are getting in it. Who cares?
Right. I don't know. I guess maybe for bowl games, but I have no idea. I'm with you. I would want to push it back. I mean, especially if it was Oklahoma. But, I mean, this is the thing, though. If, let's say you're Oklahoma and you're missing players, you're missing staff, and I don't know where you are on the threshold that you've got to meet, but let's say you've got however many guys from a given position group down. I would rather march out my scout team to try and beat Iowa State, show up with like 15 guys on the sideline and a couple of coaches, than I would to just pull out of the game and have someone go else in there and try and win it. Right?
There is no way in hell that either of those teams are not playing in that game.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't care if you got to start a running back at, like, go Denver Broncos, pull someone off the scout team to play quarterback. You do whatever you can. You say, we'll be there. I don't know how many we're bringing, but we'll be there.
Just ridiculous, the thought that just Texas finds out on like Friday and they just show up like, okay, we'll see you guys there. Let's have a good game. That would make me – there's, once again, very unlikely that happens. But the fact that it's even a possibility, it pisses me off. Not going to lie.
I do kind of laugh a little bit that the Texas coaches have to put 2 game plans together this week for Iowa State and Oklahoma and do some extra work. Isn't signing like National Signing Day this week too? So throw that into the mix instead of being able to just sit back and focus on recruiting.
Gosh, that sounds miserable. Imagine being a GA there right now. Oh, that would be terrible. All right, Ted, let's move on to Call Your Shot. And that's brought to you by Rock and Roll Tequila. Rock and Roll Tequila is the ultra premium tequila that hits all the right notes. It's won all kinds of awards for its superior taste and smooth finish. To find a store that has it, visit rockandrolltequila.com or check out their Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. This stuff is fantastic. If you don't want to take my word for it, maybe you'll listen to this guy.
This is Coach Bob Stoops. When you're a college football coach, it's important to have an eye for talent. The same holds true when choosing your tequila. When I tried Rock and Roll, I liked it so much, I decided to become a partner in this Oklahoma-owned company. Crafted in the highlands of Jalisco, Mexico, the smooth taste of Rock and Roll's triple distilled platinum, our añejo called Cristalino, and the incredible premium quality mango tequila are awesome. Our defiantly unique guitar-shaped bottles make it easy to find, and you'll love the ultra-premium quality and taste. No excuses. Make Rock and Roll your game day tequila. Tastefully rebellious, start the party with Rock and Roll.
And we asked you for your boldest takeaway from the weekend in college football. And Teddy, our favorite one comes from Buster Rhymes at Buster4Sooners on Twitter, which I checked in his bio. It is not the real Buster Rhymes. He states so in his Twitter bio. So unfortunately, Buster Rhymes,
dang it,
not a listener yet. But this is what Buster had to say. Off the field takeaway. With the coaching carousel in full swing, the OU staff will have at least 2 more changes before next season. That's not something we've really started thinking about right? And we'll get to what happened with the coaching carousel a little later, but Alex Grinch, he's done a hell of a job. I just don't know. Like, we'll see what jobs become open, but you have to think that Alex Grinch is going to get some calls, right?
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely get calls. He got calls last year. He got head coaching calls before he even came to Oklahoma. So he's going to get calls. You just got to wonder, like, how selective will he be? And here's the thing. You know, he's in a position to where, like, I would understand him getting antsy to take a head coaching job somewhere if, like, this, he felt like this was going to be their best year, and the next couple of years it could go down. And I guess maybe he could think that way if he feels like he's going to miss Ronnie Perkins and Perrion Winfrey. Both those guys are going to go to the league, and there's going to be a drop off in talent. I mean, I guess that's possible, but I feel like they're just kind of getting going. So, I mean, what type of job would you be willing to take right now to leave Oklahoma? And let's remember, if you're taking a job, it's because they had a horrible year and things are down, the program is down. So some of them are open, like the jobs that are coming open, like, I don't know how good they are. Like, you know, even Auburn, and we'll get into that, that's a good school. You can win a championship there. We've seen it, but I mean, it's just as easy to lose 4 or 5 games there a year as it is to, you know, knock out a great season. The way Alabama's rolling right now, Texas A&M is looking good. I mean, it's a brutal job that comes with a ton of pressure. So I think he'll be really selective. Now, here's the other part of that. As a defensive coordinator, I mean, I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but just what it feels like is 4 or 5 to 1 offensive coordinators getting head jobs to defensive coordinators. So you have to wonder, like, if you do get a really nice offer somewhere, is another one going to come around? Like, I think like the perfect job for Grinch would be something like a Virginia Tech.
Are you listening? Are you listening, people at Virginia Tech?
I mean, that's just what I mean, I don't see him going west. You know, I don't see him taking a job where he has to compete in state with like the South Carolina job where you have to compete with Clemson and then also be in the SEC East, like an Auburn being up against Alabama in your own state. But I don't know. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, he's also a really smart guy too. Like, I think that he would want to step into a really good situation, maybe to where it was a program where the coach just left because they got like an elite job, and he's stepping in and
like Aranda at Baylor.
Exactly. Like where the coach is moving on to bigger and better things, and Grant steps in, takes over a talented team. But also, I wonder if he wants to be a head coach yet, because, you know, I know a lot of people may have a hard time understanding this, but some coaches that are coordinators, like some guys feel like they're not ready to be the head man yet, or that they still have room to grow as a coordinator and more information to gather and kind of have a clearer picture of the head coach they want to be eventually. It's kind of a weird thing for coordinators, but yeah, we'll see. I'm sure he's going to get calls. There's no doubt. He's too damn good not to. Okay, Ted, one more thing for local college football, and that is, okay, OSU just went to Waco and destroyed Baylor. Sure, of course. 42-3. 42-3, and it wasn't even that close. And before the game, we found out that Chuba Hubbard officially opted out, even though he had been opting out the last couple of games anyways. But we also found out that Baylor was missing a huge number of players and staff members. But even with all that, give Oklahoma State credit. They whooped Baylor in every phase. Dylan Stoner was an absolute monster for Oklahoma State. Baylor could not cover him. They tried a couple different things. None of them worked. He ends up with 3 touchdowns. Dominic Richardson, the pride of Bishop McGuinness, Teddy. Yes.
There we go.
The pride of Bishop McGuinness was running wild for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And that Baylor defense that looked so good against Oklahoma a couple weeks ago was unrecognizable. I don't really, other than Jalen Petrie still being that dude, I don't know what that was. And then when you look at Baylor's offense, it's just atrocious. I'm not sure if Oklahoma State's defense even played that well, but that Baylor offense is so limited. And maybe it's a little bit of both of those things. Maybe Oklahoma State played well defensively and Baylor is terrible offensively, but a nice win. I mean, a nice win to go on the road in conference play and beat the absolute hell out of a team. Ted, they beat him so bad that Charlie Brewer was like, you know what? I got to get out of here. I'm grad transferring.
I don't blame him, I guess. I mean, it feels like he's been there forever anyways. You know, I don't know how to feel about this. I picked Baylor to win the football game. And I thought for sure they would. I thought they were a better football team based off of what I saw in Oklahoma State and Baylor in back-to-back games. I said, this team is better than this team. They'll win the game. That was horribly wrong.
If I remember correct, we have now filmed 2 Sooner Game Day pregame shows for West Virginia that did not get played, and neither of those shows ever went on air. But we do a pick'em segment, and I was the only one that picked Oklahoma State to win the game.
We'll never know. I don't remember if that's
Genius.
true or not. We will never
That show will never be run, but I'm telling you right now, I picked you, Oklahoma State. I believed in you.
Okay, so I think this year, like motivation for a football game, I think it matters more than it has at any other time because of all the COVID protocols and all the crap that these guys have been through. So that helps a little bit. Baylor doesn't have anything to play for. It's different when Oklahoma is your opponent and you've got a chance to go out there and beat Oklahoma, which I think kind of would tell you like why West Virginia looked really good and then went to Iowa State and, you know, just didn't – I don't know. But I don't know if this game makes me feel better or worse. Does it make me feel better that we looked as good as we did against Oklahoma State at times, or does it make me feel worse that Baylor, who just got drummed, gave us a tight football game and did some really, really good things against us?
Yeah, I'm going to go with your original theory of it's like these games are almost like bowl games. Right? Where one team you're like, well, did they really want to be there? Like Baylor did not look overly inspired on the field, but that being said, you're right. Oklahoma State just went up and down
the field. That was part of my pick of picking Baylor is that I thought Oklahoma State was going to be that way. After having a chance this year, a lot of people thought to be in it for the Big 12 championship and not being there, guys opting out, you know, I thought that they would just show up and, you know, but God, I was wrong. Horrible. It
was a confusing game. I was watching the whole thing like, really? I mean, Stoner took that first one? It was like 75 yards. I was like, okay. And then it was just a beat down. And Baylor's offense showed no signs of life. I mean, none. And I was like, okay, well, this is just going to be a thorough beatdown. Here we go. And, hey, give Mike Gundy credit. His team was ready to play in what was a really weird spot. You know that maybe not the majority of, but a lot of the players that were playing that game, it was Friday, and they were looking around like, okay, is this thing getting canceled?
Yep.
No. But they played it, and one team showed up, and the other team did not. Yikes. 42-3. Yikes.
Brutal.
All right, Ted, let's move on to the National College Football Roundup. That's brought to you by Insurica. Do you own a business? If you do, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. Insurica's clients become best-in-class businesses by working with Insurica's team of advisors to manage risk. Purchasing insurance is only one way to protect your business. Best-in-class businesses win by avoiding a loss in the first place. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. I'm an Insurica client, and you should be too. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com. Only one game we can start with. LSU goes to Gainesville and beats Florida 37-34. And Ted, there is a lot to unpack in this football game. Some weird things had been going on at LSU. Thought Coach O may have lost the locker room. Well, I guess not, because it was a really impressive performance by LSU. Florida's defense continues to be a disappointment, but no Kyle Pitts for the Gators in this one. That whole thing was weird. He warmed up. He was ready to go, and then they said, you know what? You're not playing. I don't know what was going on there, but seems like they could have used him down in the red zone where the Gators struggled in this football game. But also pretty sure we just watched Kyle Trask lose the Heisman Trophy in that game. He had the 2 interceptions. The one was a pick six, was a huge play in that football game. So all of these things happen, right? But all anyone is talking about, Ted, is the throwing of the shoe, the cleat heave, the toss. Some are calling this the shoe game, in fact. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me set the scene for you. Florida gets a stop to force 4th and 6 for LSU on their own 29-yard line with under 2 minutes to go in the game. So they probably would have had to punt and just hope that they were able to get a stop. But the drive gets extended because Marco Wilson from Florida makes the tackle and ends up with Cole Taylor's shoe. And he chucks that bitch 20 yards in the air. We've seen guys throw cleats before, right? Like this has happened. Like it's more common with the towel, right? You see a guy's towel, you throw it. But he threw this shoe as far as he could, Teddy, and gets an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. It extends the drive down. Credit to what was I forget the kicker's name. Sorry, man, but he buries the 57-yarder. But was this the dumbest penalty you've ever seen?
No. I mean, it was bad, but didn't Ole Miss lose what do they call that, the Egg Bowl? Whenever the guy hiked his leg in the end zone, didn't they lose the game because of that?
Oh, yeah.
So
that guy's still there. And by the way, that guy's like leading the country in receptions. Yeah. Was it Elijah Moore? Is that his name?
Yes, I think that's right. So, I mean, it's not the dumbest penalty I've ever seen, but it's one of them. They had other opportunities to get off the field and to make plays, but that really makes it sting. But, dude, how about a 57-yarder
Cade
from a
York
college kid to win a game? That's insane.
In the fog, too.
Yeah.
Cade York. That's a good kicker name. Cade York. Yeah. Distinguished.
Kickers, that's a Cade. That works perfectly.
But, man, what a disappointing performance by Florida. Especially, LSU was missing a ton of guys. I mean, they didn't have a lot of scholarship players for this game. And I know that Dan Mullen wants to make excuses after the game and say, hey, playing more games is a bad thing, I guess, this year. Like, Dan, you just lost to a bad team that didn't have a bunch of its players. Like, you got beat. Stop whining.
I don't know what he's saying. But I will say this, though. This is like LSU is a 3-win football team that has a ton of distractions going on, that is obviously down a bunch of players, and they go in and knock off the number 6 team in their place. That is why I made such a big deal in our last podcast over Ohio State and the fact that they're going to get into the college football playoff playing so few football games. This happens in college football literally every week. Something like this happens. That's why it's a big deal that you're only going to play 6 football games. That's why it makes me so mad, is because you never know. You never know who's going to beat you. You can never look at the schedule and say, win, 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 win. It just doesn't work out that way. Someone's going to jump up and bite you. I mean, very rarely do we see teams have undefeated seasons, and that's the reason why, man. It's college football. I've heard you say it before. It is the most difficult thing to predict. There's
Impossible.
no way of knowing what's going to happen from one week to the next. I picked Baylor to beat Oklahoma State. They got destroyed, okay? Destroyed.
And those are teams we know well, like we've seen them.
Yes. So, I mean, what are you going to do? So, I mean, this exact result is what infuriates the hell out of me whenever it comes to Ohio State.
Yeah. And by the way, LSU did all of that with Max Johnson, who he's a true freshman, right? The kid looks like he's like 16 years old. That's an impressive win for Coach O. I know that they've had a terrible year. I get it. I get things have been a little dicey down there. It sounds like there's been some interesting things going on between that staff and some of the players and some of the guys that are, thinking about leaving. I get it, but it's a nice win. It's a nice win. All right, Ted, North Carolina, Miami. We were very excited about this football game. We knew it was going to be extremely entertaining. Wrong. Miami, they wore all black, which apparently was them dressing for their own funeral because, oh my God, North Carolina destroyed them 62-26, and it was not that close. Sam Howell, he threw a touchdown, he ran for a touchdown, he caught a touchdown, but that was pretty much irrelevant because Michael Carter and Javonte Williams ran for a combined 544 yards and 5 touchdowns. Teddy, these guys were so tired because they were running so much. Every time the camera showed them, I was like, yeah, these guys are exhausted. They weren't expected to be able to run this much in this game, but they absolutely embarrassed Miami's defense. Miami, they were on the big stage. They had a chance to impress in prime time, and they got completely embarrassed. And I don't know if this was Mac Brown taking out some frustration on his old defensive coordinator, Manny Diaz, or what, but this was an absolute beatdown.
That is one of the more brutal things that I've seen. I can't even imagine what it must be like in a football game to give up 554 yards to be exact on the ground. That is unbelievable. I mean, I know it's happened before. I know those type of games happen, but as a top 10 team, give up
at
554 at home.
Wearing all black jerseys.
Wow. Hey, man, I'll say this. North Carolina can score. I mean, I'm looking at their schedule right now. They put up 56 against Virginia Tech whenever they were a top 20 team. They put up 48 against NC State when they were a top 25 team. They put up 56 on Duke, 59 on Wake, and now 49 against, who's that, Western Carolina or something? And then 62 against a top 10 team.
And my initial reaction is I was watching them go up and down the field against Miami, who does not have a terrible defense. Like, this hasn't been a horrible group for them on that side of the ball. They've got a defensive head coach. My reaction was, damn, how good is Notre Dame's defense?
Yeah.
17. They shut that group out. They shut North Carolina out in the second half.
Yep.
So that was my thing. I was like, damn, these guys, they got wide receivers, they got backs, they got a good quarterback. Their offensive line is decent. That Notre Dame defense I think we already knew that they were a legit group, but this was just another reminder that, hey, the Fighting Irish, they got a squad on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, hey, I agree. Give Mac Brown some credit, man. That's North Carolina, and they're not going to win the ACC, but look out for them in coming years because he's put together a really good recruiting class. It looks like maybe it slipped a little bit from the heights of where it was and what they thought they might get, but still putting together a great recruiting class for them. And that's just the beginning. I imagine that's going to keep happening there. And North Carolina could turn themselves into a little competitor there in the ACC.
I got a feeling that Mac Brown's going to get some kids out of South Florida. It's just a feeling.
Yeah. Yep.
God, what a horrible showing by Miami. Whew. Man, you can't wear all black and get beat like that. That's against the rules, Miami. You have to retire those jerseys. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. Okay, one last game, Ted. USC and UCLA. Oh my God, was it beautiful? USC wore the cardinal red. UCLA wore the beautiful powder blue. The Rose Bowl grass was green as could be. It was absolutely gorgeous. It is the most aesthetically pleasing game in all of college football, and it was actually a good game. I mean, there are all kinds of big explosive plays in the passing game. For UCLA, Dorian Thompson-Robinson and the Bruins, they had things rolling, right? They were up 28-10 there in the third quarter, but then just made mistake after mistake after mistake. And Keaton Slovis and the Trojans apparently have a flair for the dramatic. Another comeback win for them. And that game-winning drive where Slovis ends up finding Amon-Ra St. Brown for the game winner, it all started because Gary Bryant had that big kickoff return that really got things going for the Trojans there. But USC, they're 5-0. Now, it's not an impressive 5-0. It's not, but Ted, it's still 5-0.
It's almost as impressive as Ohio State's 5-0 is. I mean, the only thing separating the two is, imagine this: Ohio State beat Indiana. That's the big separator. Okay.
I always knew that we'd use Indiana to separate undefeated teams. It's like, what? Wait, what? Indiana? They're kind of good. Oh yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, but the strange thing is, Ohio State is, I think, 3 in the USA Today poll, and USC 13, I believe. So, interesting. Is Indiana that good? That's the difference. That's what we're going to say. No, I think it's name. I think it's one of those predetermined teams to make the college football playoff. But, yeah, give USC credit. Hey, would they outscore UCLA 20-3 in the fourth quarter to come back and win this thing by 5 points?
Yeah.
Fun game. Really was.
And beautiful. So beautiful.
And beautiful.
Gosh, that game looks good. Okay, Ted, let's move on to the college football news. And we got to start with Texas. Texas Athletic Director Chris Del Conte issued a statement that, well, after some clarification, because it wasn't the most clear statement we've ever seen, but came out and said that Tom Herman will be back as Texas's head coach next year. And when Urban Meyer was no longer a realistic option, this is what I expected Texas to do, because paying $25 to $30 million to buy out Tom Herman and his staff didn't make much sense with there not being some home run hire available out there. I don't think that guy is out there, in my opinion. But were you surprised by this at all, Ted? I feel like the messaging could have been a little better.
No, I mean, I wasn't surprised. I mean, I've kind of said the same thing. It's like, I think Urban Meyer is he's the only hire I can think of that I think would work there. He's the only one. Anything other than that, I think they're just either treading water, maybe even going backwards. But the other thing is, like, I don't know I don't know how you move forward with Tom Herman as far as program wise. I know that you don't want to pony up that much money to get rid of him and bring in someone that wasn't your number one choice. I understand that, but he's going back into a tough situation to try and, move forward with the way things went this year. I don't necessarily know what his team feels about him. It's never really looked like there's some big love affair, and those guys just can't wait to go out there and play for their coach. I always remember him headbutting a guy with his helmet on before their bowl game, and the whole team just kind of stood there and looked at him. I mean, it's weird. I don't think it's going to work. I mean, I expect him to be just another mediocre Big 12 team next year, but I understand them. Like, the last time they made a decision was when they got rid of Mac Brown, because they honestly thought they were going to get Nick Saban, and they went all the way down the list and ended up with Charlie Strong. Now, I think Charlie Strong's a good football coach, but there is no way that whenever Texas fired Mac Brown, they thought they were going to be coached by Charlie Strong the next season. So I don't think they wanted something like that to happen again. And I don't know who the next name is right now other than Urban Meyer, and it sounds like he doesn't want it.
Yeah. Just save the money. They're saving money. There you go. Good job, Cristo Conte. They got a lot of projects they got to finish there in Austin. There's a lot of construction. Hey,
Yeah.
Ted, what's do you know what the new city bird in Austin is? Official city bird?
I do not.
The crane. Get it? Construction crane. Get it? Feel free to use that.
Oh,
Feel
that's
free to
funny.
use that. Okay,
No, I see
so this was really interesting to me. It's something that, we had talked about, we had kind of anticipated having, but it's still kind of weird seeing it actually happen, and that was Boston College. They come out, they announce they will not participate in a bowl game. And Jeff Hafley, their head coach, said the season has taken a hell of a mental and physical toll on his players. And remember, no one has handled the coronavirus better than Boston College. They've had like one guy test positive since June. It's unbelievable how well they handled it. But that being said, these kids haven't seen their families since June. And Hafley said that they wanted their players to be able to go home for the holidays. And he didn't want them to have to go through 3 more weeks of the protocols and be away from their family and friends, especially since there's really no guarantee that the bowl game would actually get played, right? Because you could have a bunch of guys test positive right before the bowl game and all of a sudden game's off. So they decided that they weren't going to do it. And I think that this is just another example of we may not quite understand everything these players and coaches are going through on a day-to-day basis. And I know college football players are catered to. They get whatever they want. I understand that. But, Ted, I think these guys have been living life under an extreme amount of stress the last couple of months. And I kind of admire Hafley for just saying, you know what? The kids have been through enough. Let's give them a break.
Yeah, especially whenever a lot of these bowl games end up being something that the university loses money on, having to travel and all the different things that go into being there for a bowl game, and the payout as you go down the list gets to be, smaller and smaller, obviously. So, and I don't blame Boston College, because they've got the only bowl game I think that's ever been canceled. The First Responders Bowl, I was supposed to call that game, and we called about 7 minutes of it, and they canceled it and said, go home. So I understand how they feel about going somewhere in the game not playing.
You were supposed to call that game?
How have
I never heard this story?
I don't know. Me and Brian Haney, play-by-play for Kansas, were there at the Cotton Bowl calling that game. I think we got 7 minutes into the first quarter, and lightning, thunderstorms in the area.
Oh, I remember it well because I was making a bunch of jokes about how the First Responders Bowl was the one that got canceled, and it was because of lightning. Like, come on, you got to be a little better at first responding, guys.
Yeah, we've got a ton of first responders here. We should be fine. No, yeah, that was so. I get Boston College's feelings of having to go through all of that only to have a bowl game canceled. So, no, I don't blame them, and I wonder how many teams we see do this. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if there's a bunch.
Yeah, I think we're up to 4 now because Pittsburgh announced they'll do the same thing. Virginia said the same thing, and then Stanford came out and said that once they play their game, I think they play UCLA. Once that game, that their season's going to be over. So I think we're going to continue to see more and more teams, and I've got no problem with it. I really don't. I think that this season has been a lot for these players and these coaches. You mentioned the financial aspect of things, right? And if it really doesn't add up financially, and you don't have to put the kids through all of that for a couple weeks, I think it's a no-brainer. So we'll see how many more teams do it. But yeah, I only feel for the kids though, because do they not get bowl gifts now?
I guess
bowl
not,
gifts are the best.
Yeah, if you go to good bowls.
True. That's a good point.
I don't know what the first responders bowl gift was, but I'm sure it's not the greatest thing ever.
There's no better bowl gift than spending time with your family and friends.
Look at you.
Put that on a card or something.
What's the worst bowl gift that you got?
Hair dryer from the Sun Bowl. Now the backpack from the Sun Bowl. Yeah, it was my redshirt year. We went to the Sun Bowl there in beautiful El Paso, and that's the first thing they give you. You open up your room and there's a hair dryer on your bed, and you're like, and it was purple too.
A hair dryer. That's fascinating.
I know. Yeah, pretty interesting.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, now I'm gonna save all the coaching carousel news for my winners and losers, Ted. So let's move on to our segment, and we will start with our winners and losers of the weekend. And Teddy's winners and losers are brought to you by Advanced Weight Loss Clinic of Sand Springs. They'll help you execute a realistic and achievable weight loss plan designed for you and only you. They've got all kinds of treatments for men and women. Their licensed and trained experts combine diet and exercise with hormone therapies to maximize your results. If you're struggling with low libido or low energy, Advanced Weight Loss Clinic of Sand Springs can help with that too. They also offer Botox and fillers. To get on the path to losing weight, call 918-241-LOSE or visit their Facebook page. If you mention the podcast, you will get a free fat burner injection. Okay, Ted, who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
I got to go with Jalen Hurts.
It's hard to argue with. Got it done.
It wasn't pretty. I think he was 17 of 30, which, it's not the worst ever. Did throw for a touchdown, but added 100 yards in the running game. Did what he had to do to beat New Orleans, a good football team. I know they don't have Drew Brees right now, but that's still a 10-win Saints team that's really good, really balanced team offensively and defensively. Gabe, it is hard to win in the NFL, especially as a rookie quarterback on what's been a terrible football team. So I give the kid a ton of credit for going in there and fighting and beating the New Orleans Saints.
That back shoulder throw for the touchdown to Alshon
nice.
Jeffrey.
Yep.
That was nice. He took it straight in the face. I was like, oh, it was a great throw. But yeah, I'm with you. I was really impressed. I thought he, was really calm, composed, did a good job running the show, didn't make any horrible decisions. And maybe the Eagles aren't even that bad. Wentz has just been turning the ball over like crazy.
Yeah.
So now I don't think they're a great team, but Hurts didn't make any critical mistakes. And would you look at that? They won.
And Wentz looks like he's so panicked all the time. And I understand he's been under – their offensive line has not played well, but he just – I don't know. He has not looked like himself, looks scared, looks like, the spotlight is on him and he doesn't know what to do with the football. So, Jalen, give him credit. Went in there, got a W. Pretty nice. Tough.
I thought that was going to be a bad situation for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
But hey, Miles Sanders got going. Like that was a nice win for the Eagles. And a lot of people are like, Taysom Hill, so is he good or what? But yeah, nice win. All right, who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
My loser leads college football in passing by nearly 400 yards. He leads college football in passing touchdowns by 10 with 40. My loser is Kyle Trask because unfortunately for him, while he's leading in those categories and insane, 40 touchdowns to 5 interceptions is just unbelievable. He's been great. He's completing over 70% of his passes. But that pick six against LSU may have sealed his fate, Gabe. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy anymore.
I definitely agree. While he did some really good things in that game, he also made some big mistakes. And it's hard to win a Heisman Trophy when you play a game like that, you lose to a team like that. And I know it's LSU, but still, LSU is not a good team this season. They're not. When you do that in prime time, late in the season, yikes. That's
hurts. Lose
that hurts.
To a team that you shouldn't.
Who would you? You don't have a vote, do you? I don't have a vote, so I
do not.
Okay, we should. What the hell, guys? But yeah. My vote right now would be for Devontae Smith. I don't think anyone's playing better than him in college football. I can't vote for Mac Jones. I wouldn't vote for Mac Jones because I don't think he's the best player on his own team. I think Devontae Smith's the best player.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, I really don't know. I think Devontae Smith I think he's obviously a great player. I wish I had a better option. There's really, Breece Hall, I think, is great, I don't think he's the best player in college football.
That's true. He's been really good for them, but now Brock Purdy's actually playing well, so it's almost like Breece Hall doesn't matter as much anymore to his team. It's weird.
Yeah, it's been a strange year. I really don't. No one separated themselves. Like, I don't know who the best player in college football is. I mean, I could almost argue that Zaven Collins for Tulsa has done just as much, like, to prove he's the best player in college football as anyone, like, for what he means to his team and what he's done in critical moments. I mean, I just don't know who that guy is. Like, Kyle Trask is throwing for 3,700 yards and 40 touchdowns, but is he really the best player in college football? Kyle Trask?
He's not even the best player on his own team.
Yeah, Mac Jones, I mean, he's been incredibly efficient with the football, 27 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. All right,
I'll solve this. Just give it to Trevor Lawrence. If we're talking about who's the best player in college football, the answer is Trevor Lawrence. He's the best player. If they gave Trevor Lawrence the Heisman Trophy, no one would complain. They'd be like, yeah, all right, yeah. It's kind of like a career achievement award at that point. But I'm with you. I'm with you. I can't remember a year where I felt less passionate about who I thought should win the Heisman. It's weird.
I know. It's very strange. I mean, very strange. Like, even like Breece Hall's had, 1,300 yards and 17 touchdowns, but that's not like it's a ridiculous number. I mean, the kid from North Carolina's got more touchdowns than he does. Najee Harris has way more. Najee Harris has 22 touchdowns. I think he leads. And I would say that, like, all things considered, if I'm drafting running backs out of college football, I'm taking Najee Harris.
Yeah. Have you seen that guy?
Right. So,
ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know. It's a weird year. But I feel confident that Kyle Trask is not going to win it after losing to LSU, unfortunately. He's had a great season. I think he's a great player, done some really good things. Boy, you want to talk about bad takes. I said before the season that I didn't think Florida was going to be, good enough to win the SEC this year because Kyle Trask was going to hold them back at quarterback.
Oops.
How dumb was that?
It happens, Ted. Don't be so hard on yourself. Okay, my winners and losers are brought to you by Sound Advice. A lot of us are watching our favorite football teams from home this year, which is why you need to get ready for game day with a home theater system from our friends at Sound Advice. Sound Advice can customize your home entertainment system indoors or outdoors. Sound Advice did the Wi-Fi network and all the audio visual at my new house, and it is awesome. They hide all the wires in the cable boxes so it looks great, and I can control every TV in my home from my phone. And my internet has been flawless. For the best home theater systems in the Oklahoma City area, call Sound Advice at 405-549-3880 or visit soundadviceokc.com. Okay, Ted, I thought about going with Thunder fans for my winner of the weekend, but because Theo Maladon, how do we say this kid's last name? He's French. He's 6'5". He's fantastic. He had 20 points against the Spurs. I was all kinds of excited. Yeah, I logged on to OKCThunder.com and watched that game, Ted. I scratched that NBA itch a little bit, but Theo Maladon. If I say it with a sarcastic French accent, does it make it sound more legit?
No.
Damn it.
It sounds better when you say it with an Oklahoma accent. Maladon. Maladon.
Okay, but he's not my winner of the weekend. But he was great. I'm excited about his future. And I saved it. The winner of the weekend is the coaching carousel. Ted, we thought that the carousel, it might be shut down this year. No one would be allowed on the ride. Oh, were we wrong? We thought the Rona would affect schools. They say, you know what? We're not going to fire our coaches. We're having too many financial issues. Of course they are. And they did. And the carousel got rolling this weekend. Okay, where should we start? Kevin Sumlin, fired at Arizona. Really no argument there. He lost a lot of games. Unfortunate. Nice guy, good coach. This is what happens when you lose that much. Lovie Smith, fired at Illinois. And Ted, it finally happened. Gus Malzahn fired by Auburn. And remember that whole conversation about, people won't fire their coaches because of the big buyouts? Auburn was like, yeah, we will. We don't care. They owe him $21.5 million. And I believe 50% of that has to be paid in the next, it's 10 days or 30 days or something like that. So
Man,
Gus is about to get $10 million.
Ever. It's the best thing ever for him, but the dumbest thing ever for college football. I think the way they do these contracts is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Having to pay someone a ton of money to leave, I think that's ridiculous. But it's how it works right now. I get it. Arizona's a tough job.
Yeah,
it is
definitely.
It's a cool school. It's a fun place to live, but it's really tough to recruit to. It's just we've seen good coaches go there and not be able to get over the hump. I don't know who they're going to go after, but that's a tough job. And Lovie Smith, I was shocked whenever he took the Illinois job, and more shocked that it didn't really go anywhere. Maybe I shouldn't be shocked because it's Illinois and they've never really gone anywhere. I guess they were decent in the early 2000s, right?
Is the highlight of Lovie Smith's Illinois tenure when he grew that beard? That's got to be it, right? That was a badass beard.
I think he was trying to hide from everyone that didn't know he was there at Illinois, didn't want to give it away. But, man, it's someone put it to me this way. It actually, right now, whenever money is so critical, if your fan base is disenfranchised from the program and the coach and there's no energy there and you don't bring in the donations that you typically do, it makes sense to pay the $21.5 million to get someone in there that re-energizes the fan base, and you can make that up in donations in the first year or two. You know, if people don't like what they see, they stop donating. So in the grand scheme of things, while it looks like a huge money-losing endeavor, it may actually save money and make money in the long run. So it's weird, but even in a pandemic, you're not safe in college football if you don't win.
Yeah. Little cost benefit analysis analogy from you there, Ted. Look at you go. God, look at the big brain on you. Proud of you. It's going to be interesting to see who Auburn gets. That's a really damn good job. I mean, it's a hard job. There's a lot of expectations, but you can win there. You
can win there. You can also have a really good football team that goes 7-5 every year.
Correct. That's what makes it very difficult.
Right.
So we'll see. There's going to be all kinds of big names that are mentioned for that opening. And I believe I've already heard some whispers of one Mike Gundy.
Really?
Shocking that Gundy's name would be possibly connected to an SEC job that could end up in Oklahoma State giving him more money. Or what? Okay, let's talk about it. Mike Gundy at Auburn, your thoughts? I don't like it. It doesn't make a ton of sense if you're Auburn.
You don't like it for Auburn? Yeah.
I love it for Gundy.
Yeah. I mean, if I was Auburn, yeah. I mean, if I was Auburn and I'm looking for someone who's been in a situation similar that, you know, can't quite recruit to the level of their in-state rival, but has to play him every year, I'm not going to find someone who's 2-14 against them. Like,
yes, you would probably look for someone that's had a bit more success.
It's like, how do we need to find someone who can beat their in-state rival. Mike Gundy's not your guy for that. Now, I know there's other things to look at whenever it comes to that job. He'd be, I mean, like a bad recruiting year at Auburn would be by far the best recruiting class Mike Gundy's ever had as far as where it's ranked.
Correct.
So I think with some good players that Mike Gundy could – I think Mike Gundy's a great coach. I do.
I'm with you.
I just think that the expectations there, you know, from whenever he started to where he is now, the expectations finally caught up with him. And he kind of created a monster there that he couldn't live up to every single year. And, you know, obviously because of some other stuff that it's turned sour here recently, but I think he's a great coach. And I don't know necessarily how well he'd do at Auburn because Auburn is one of the more difficult jobs in the country because of your schedule, because of who your neighbor is and all those other things. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know, honestly, what direction, like, who's the big young names out there right now that everyone's dying over for head coaches? Like, there's not a bunch of them.
Billy Napier, the Louisiana coach.
Napier, maybe Fickle.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, that's one. I mean, hey, you say what you want about Hugh Freeze, okay, at Ole Miss. Did they cheat? Yes, they cheated. But did they win? Yes, they won. Okay.
Did he call hookers? Yes, he did.
You want to find someone that could beat Alabama? Hugh Freeze at Ole Miss beat Alabama. Okay, so there's your guy.
How much do you want to beat Bama?
That's right.
Auburn, figure it out. I think it'd be really interesting to see Gundy at Auburn. I wouldn't mind seeing it, and I think there's a lot of Oklahoma State fans that wouldn't mind seeing it either. So
be careful what you wish for, though. You
doubt.
better hit that next hire. It better be a home run because in this conference, you can go from a decent competitive team like Oklahoma State to really bad in one or two recruiting cycles.
No doubt. All right, Tim, my loser of the weekend, and I thought about going with Arkansas State, speaking of the coaching carousel, because they hired Butch Jones, less than 24 hours before Gus Malzahn got fired. And if you remember, Malzahn was their head coach before he got the Auburn job. So I bet they were like, oh my gosh.
No.
But
They
my
probably called
loser,
him too. Sorry, guys. I'd take it if I wasn't here, but I think I'm going to be here for another couple of years.
but my loser of the weekend, it's got to be all the teams in the NFL not named the Kansas City Chiefs, because I watched a ton of the Chiefs-Dolphins game, and the Dolphins are a good team. They're well coached. They play hard. They're really solid on the defensive side of the ball. And I know they're playing a rookie quarterback, but the Chiefs were on the road. They turned the ball over 4 times. Mahomes threw 3 interceptions, and they were winning 30-10 heading into the fourth quarter. And I was like, it just all happened so fast. And I know they scored on special teams, but this team, and Romo talked about it on the broadcast, this team looks better than they were last year. I mean, they look better defensively. And even when Mahomes, and I know the Dolphins, right? Good teams win, but great teams cover. Shout out to the Dolphins late in that one. But I know that the Chiefs, that it's ridiculous. And it's got to be depressing for the rest of the league to see them play that poorly, to turn it over 4 times and still go beat a good team on the road.
Right.
I mean, it's just this team, they are rolling. They are absolutely rolling. And even when Mahomes looks human, they've got so many damn playmakers on offense, and they go and win the game. It was one of those things where I was watching, I was like, how are they winning this game? And then all of a sudden they were up by 20, and I was like, this is ridiculous. It's got to be depressing for all the other teams in the league seeing them do it.
Yeah, I mean, they are down 10-0 and then rip off, 30 unanswered points there in the second, third quarter just to completely take over that football game. And they've got a bunch of guys playing really good football on all different position groups and offensively, defensively. Obviously led by Mahomes, but he's got a ton of playmakers around him. He's got Kelsey. He's got obviously Tyreek Hill. I mean, they just got a really good roster that they've put together.
I think Kelsey may win Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah,
he's had a great year. I mean, there's several guys there that have had great years. Tyreek Hill's had a great year. They're defensively don't get enough credit for how good they are. They've got some guys defensively that are really good, and I give them a ton of credit on the personnel side of it, because it's hard to put together a roster in this league. It's hard to put together an offensive roster in this league without a ton of ego getting involved at skill positions. And what they have works right now, and they've drafted well. I mean, they've just done a really good job. Coached well, drafted well, made good decisions as far as contracts are concerned, and it's paid off for them. It's probably going to turn into a couple of Super Bowls.
Yeah, they're 12-1 and rolling. Man.
Look good.
Man. All right, Ted, let's wet the beak. And Wet the Beak's brought to you by Tim Hughes Custom Homes. Are you looking to build your dream home? If so, Tim Hughes is the man you're looking for. Tim Hughes Custom Homes is a one-stop shop for all your home building needs. He can find you a lot. He can find you an architect. He'll find you financing. And, of course, he can build your dream home exactly the way you want it. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, Tim found my wife and me a lot. He found us an architect and built our new house. Tim and his team have been so easy to work with. He is still helping us when we have questions about things around the house. He's also built several office buildings. So if your business is looking to build a custom office, Tim Hughes is your man. You can see Tim's custom builds throughout Gaillardia, Nichols Hills, Oak Tree, Stoneville, and Rose Creek. It is a great time to build the house of your dreams. For more information to see Tim's spectacular work, visit his Instagram page at Tim Hughes Custom Homes or visit timhughescustomhomes.com. Okay, we've got Monday Night Football between. That was good, right? That one felt good. Yeah. That one felt good. Monday Night Football between the Baltimore Ravens and Cleveland Browns. Ravens traveling to Cleveland in this one. And the Ravens are coming off that get-right game they had against the Cowboys, while Cleveland, they've won 4 straight, playing some good football. And, Ted, I'm expecting this game to be a lot more competitive than the first matchup between these teams. You go back to the opener, right? And, the Ravens just put it on the Browns 38-6 in that football game. But the Ravens really need this one to feel better about their playoff chances. Steve Kornacki and his khakis broke it all down for me on NBC. And I'm just going to tell you, the memory on that guy, that's ridiculous. He's able to do that and do the different graphics and not mess up once. That guy is a wizard. I don't care, people. You need to respect Kornacki. You don't have to like him, but you better respect him. It's unbelievable what he does. But, okay, sorry, I got a little off track there. But Ravens probably going to be more of a desperate team in this game. But I'm interested to see if Cleveland can get that ground game going with Chubb and Hunt against a good Baltimore defense. And it feels like Baker Mayfield is playing the best ball of his pro career right now. He's got that confidence, right? But I think the Ravens are going to heat him up a little bit. I think they're going to bring some more pressure, but they can only do that, right? If they I don't know if there's shutting down that run game, but they got to slow it down a little bit to be able to heat Baker up. And he's going to have to get the ball out of his hands, and those Browns receivers, they're going to need to win, right, in some of those man-to-man situations. But I'm sure the Browns defense is determined to shut down Lamar Jackson after what the Ravens did to them in the first meeting. But this is a line that I believe people in the industry call it a stinky line. It smells, Ted, because Baltimore is a 3-point favorite on the road in Cleveland. It smells little weird.
To a 9-3 football team. Who's the better quarterback?
Oh, man. I would say Lamar, but that's a tricky question for me because, he won the MVP last year, and there was only a couple weeks ago where people were wondering if Baker Mayfield was going to ever play in the NFL again because he was playing so bad. So I know that this is very much a week-to-week league, but I think his running ability, it just sets him apart so much. And the thing for me is, what could Lamar Jackson do if he had Stefanski as his coach, right? If he was running that zone system with all the boots and all these things that I think he could do. I think Baker's playing better than him right now, but it would be tough for me to say, yeah, I'd take Baker over Lamar Jackson when Lamar Jackson was the MVP of the entire league last season, and he's young.
Yeah.
But I love the Browns system. I played for Greg Roman. I played in that system. It's different, right? And he's tailor-made it to Lamar. But I do think Lamar could play in a system like Kyle Shanahan, what Shanahan does with the 49ers, what we're seeing the Browns do. Like, I think he could operate in something like that if he was given the chance. And if he had a running game, like where the running game wasn't him, right? Where the running game was Nick Chubb. I don't know. My instincts to say Lamar.
The reason I ask is because I think, and this isn't anything groundbreaking, but I think the quarterback that plays the best wins the game. And Baker's coming off of one of his best performances in his career with that big win over Tennessee. They've won the 4 straight. And I know the Ravens and Lamar's been out, and they've had a real tough schedule. I mean, their last 5 was brutal until they played Dallas, and they handled Dallas pretty easily there. So I don't know, man. I tend to lean towards the Browns at home. I like their defense. I think Baker's played well, but I like the way they run the football, and that keeps it out of Baker's hands quite a bit. Now, they went opposite against Tennessee and aired it out, and that was able to pay off for him. But I just don't trust Lamar Jackson right now. I feel like the Browns are good enough defensively to turn him into a pocket passer for the most part. And whenever you do that, Lamar Jackson really struggles. So I'll take the Browns if I can get 3, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I would take the Browns too, right? I mean, if you're giving me 3 points for a team that has won 4 in a row when the team they're playing is what, 1-3 in their last 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll take the 3 points and live with it. But it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be a really damn good game, which I love. It's one of my favorite things when we get a good Monday night football game.
Well, here's the other thing too is, I mean, you would agree that Baker is way better whenever he's confident.
100%.
And he's playing well. And that right now, with a big stage, the way he's been playing, the way that team's playing, like this is a game that is like tailor fit for the Baker Mayfield from college football, right?
Right.
With the only thing different is like he was always great whenever they went on the road, but you know, big environment, ton of people are going to be watching, you know, the game of the week. If he has really cemented himself in this league and he's feeling the way he did whenever he was playing his best in college, this is like not necessarily a breakout game, but this is a game that's tailor fit for him.
This line, the more I look at it, it makes me feel like Vegas knows something we don't. Like, are there going to be some guys out for the Browns or something? Because it makes no sense, right? And every once in a while, one of these lines creeps up, but it's normally in college football where you just go, huh? It doesn't happen that often in the NFL where you're like, wait, 3-point underdog at home, really? Something's up. The alarm bells are going off in my head when I see that line. Stay away.
I mean, there's something to that. Kitty, 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 kitty. You see that the Browns 9-3 at home getting 3 points? Of course I'll take that. What? You kidding me? That's easy money. Yeah. They're probably looking at that first matchup whenever the Ravens, both teams at full strength, absolutely spanked the Browns. So
correct.
That was a long time ago, but that game did in fact happen. So, you know, we have something to go off here.
Yeah, so we'll both take the points. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, but I guess we're on the Browns there, Ted. All right, Ted, let's finish up with Keeping It Local, where we highlight what's going on in the great state of Oklahoma. And that's brought to you by Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School. As schools reopened in the fall, parents wanted to provide the best possible educational experience and spiritual development for their children, so they sent them to Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School. A 1-to-1 iPad setting makes McGuinness students fully prepared to continue high-level learning from home. A 12-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio guarantees no student is overlooked. In addition to athletic programs and clubs, Bishop McGuinness's college prep curriculum offers 22 AP courses. Financial aid is available. For more information, visit bmchs.org. And unfortunately, the Fighting Irish fell to the Carl Albert Titans in the state championship game.
You were worried about it. But
it was an admirable performance.
Okay, good.
But just Carl Albert, I got to call it how I see it. They currently own McGuinness. They own him. It's just it's the painful truth. Doesn't make me happy saying it. Now I want to reiterate, I was undefeated against Carl Albert, just in case you were wondering, Teddy.
Nice.
But yeah, I think they've played in 4 state championships, like 4 of the last 5. Carl Albert's beat them in every single one. Yeah, ouch.
Brutal.
Whew. Unfortunate. Okay, so we wanted to have a little fun in this Keeping It Local, and because there was a ton of snow around the state on Sunday, I love seeing so many people post about it, right? I know that annoys some people because everyone's like, we all know it's snowing. I enjoy people being happy. So people, post away with your snow. Video everything. Put it on Twitter, put it on Facebook, put it where you want to put it. If it makes you happy, do it. Don't listen to all the naysayers. But and I'm hoping that everyone is staying safe, right? I know some people lost power, some of the roads maybe a little slick there Sunday morning. So hopefully everyone's doing all right. Hope you guys are all good. And I was looking at the snow map right before we started recording. Looks like the Panhandle got the most snow because, of course, it's the Panhandle, and that's what they do. But I don't know about you, Ted and Norman, but it snowed a lot in my house in Oklahoma City, and I just thought, in honor of the weather that we got, that we should just talk about things we like to do in the snow. I know that this is really stupid, but I thought it would make me happy because I think people really like snow. We don't get it often either.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I have a ton of fun. We went out twice today in the snow. We had a morning round and then a late evening round. With
Gotta let the stuff dry off a little bit, and then you're back at it.
Exactly right. Exactly right. About the time I finished laundry from the morning, he was like, "Hey, I know what we forgot to do this morning." I was like, "What do you mean?" "We didn't go sledding." "Oh, okay. Well, let's go." So he drugged me outside, but after I was out there, I was glad I did it.
Okay, so what are your favorite three things? Favorite three activities to do in the snow?
It's easy. First favorite activity, don't do this anymore, but whenever I was a kid and it snowed, it was verified that everyone knew we were about to play snow football. This is like pre-cell phone days. Okay, you didn't have like a big text chain of friends. You just showed up at the football field, the high school football field, and got it on in the snow, and everyone would show up. It was awesome. Every single time, even in high school, we went out and played football in the snow whenever it came down.
Okay, you're saying play football. Like, did you wear pads? Like, did you?
No.
Okay.
Like
Ooh.
backyard football.
Yeah,
No.
that's the stuff.
Yep. I still have a friend to this day that brings up a hit I put on him. Someone threw him a pass over the middle, and I cleaned him up, and he's still upset about it.
Hey, are you
His
just
older
like, hey,
brother
man,
tried to fight me. And
your quarterback left you out to dry. Blame the quarterback. Don't
what
blame
do you want me to do? Allow you to catch it? I mean, come on. But snow football, definitely number one. Number two is sledding, and any sledding classifies down a hill, pulled behind a four-wheeler or like a side-by-side.
Or pulled behind your mother's Volvo in Nichols Hills back in the day. I now realize how stupid that was. That my brother, that was a bad idea.
One of the earliest memories of my life is sitting in a sled with my brother. I had to be probably 3. My brother would have been like 7. And my dad was pulling us through a empty like housing development in Broken Arrow, and a cop pulled us over. Like my earliest memory. My dad had this crappy, horrible car. It was a oh God, what was it called? Like a Isuzu Colt or something like that. It was like a little diesel hatchback. He was pulling us through this. It was hilarious. But sledding's number 2. And number 3, I think like building a snowman is something that you just have to do. And by the way, today's snow was the best snowman snow you could ever have. It was awesome. Right out my window, I'm looking at maybe the largest snowman ever built. I almost threw my back out picking up the middle section to put on the the snowman. So that's number 3 for me.
I completely agree. Okay, so my 3, I think my sledding days are over. So I'm going to go my favorite 3 snow activities right now. Number 3, building a snowman. It was the first thing I did, and you're right. The fresh powder we got here in the state of Oklahoma, that was some packable snow. I mean, it was so easy to build snowman. It was like, it took me 5 minutes. And it was
yeah. It just rolls up like it rolls. It took every bit of snow as you're rolling the ball through the yard.
It was amazing. It was fantastic. It was so easy. So my wife and I did that. We had a really good time doing it. I didn't think I was going to have a great time. She was like, let's go play in the snow. And I was like, no, that's stupid. We're old. We don't have kids. Like, why would we
I'm
do that?
watching
She's
football.
exactly. That's what I was doing. She was like, let's play in the snow. I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden I'm like out there like a kid and I'm building a snowman, having like the time of my life. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. My wife's a lot smarter than me. That's why I listen to her. So number 3 is building a snowman. Number 2, and this is very niche for the men, I assume, peeing in the snow. I'm not going to lie. Teddy, it is one of my favorite things. And now as I'm thinking about this and saying it out loud, I would like to say to my security camera company that it was cold outside, okay? Because I'm realizing there is a camera right where I peed this morning and wrote my name in the snow. But it's a rite of passage. It is a rite of passage. It is one of my favorite things to do when it snows. I feel like you just got to pee in it. I don't know why it is that way.
Great.
I don't know why I'm so drawn to it, but I just like it. It's fun. It's a fun activity. I'll say that.
Great.
So.
And, I will say this, that one of the neighborhood kids was eating the snow, and I'm always like, how do you know someone hasn't peed in that? It's your first thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it's natural. It's what men do. We pee outside. It's just what we do. And there's no like that, like the steam is coming. Ah, what an experience. But number one thing I enjoy, number one favorite thing is watching dogs play in the snow. I put it out there on Twitter. I put a video of McKenna, one of my little Labradoodles. She's hopping around like a bunny rabbit in the snow. It's hilarious. It's cute. It's funny. And I told everyone on Twitter, and you can go look at it on my Twitter. I said, hey, this is the content I crave. Give me all the videos you have of your dogs playing in the snow, because I think it is the funniest thing in the world. It makes me happy watching the dogs love the snow. Now, there was also a couple in there where it didn't look like the dogs were having the best time, but one guy sent me one. His dog is like rolling a snowball for a snowman. Like the ball is huge. It is big, and the dog is like rolling it along. I'm like, that's amazing. This is what I crave in life. This is amazing. So my number one favorite thing when it comes to snow, watching dogs play in the snow. If you've got a video of your dog playing in the snow and you're like, oh, I don't want to post it. No, damn it. Post it, because it is the best content on planet Earth. Do it. Don't be scared. Do it. I love that.
I've got a neighbor that he's got a couple of dogs, and one of them is a Doberman, and it's gigantic. It's the size of a deer, and it runs, I believe, as fast as a deer. It is the most impressive animal I think I've ever seen in my life. But I stood at the window and watched him run in the snow for like 45 minutes straight. He was out there all day running, plowing through the snow. He tore up one of the neighbors' snowmen that they build. He destroyed that. He was an animal. Loved it all day long. But I don't understand. Like, he has super thin hair. It was cold. It was incredibly cold outside, and he was fine all day long, cruising, running, rolling around in the snow. It was amazing to watch.
That's because he can't feel the cold through all of the joy he's experiencing, Ted.
I think my son has that same situation, because I'm out there, I'm like, dude, let's go inside. And he's soaking wet because he's been rolling around in it. He's like, come on, 10 more minutes.
Come on, Dad.
And I'm like, okay, I don't know how he does it. It's the joy. You're right.
It's the joy. Snow. It's great. Now, hopefully the roads don't get too bad. Hope everyone listening to this is safe. Okay, Ted. Episode 68 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Thursday morning. We will be previewing the Big 12 championship game. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 2 to 6 on Sports Talk 1400. You can hear me from 3 to 5 on Sirius XM Big 12 Radio, channel 375. Hope you all have a great week. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening, and do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.
For another night, then tell me that you love me, if it's true. I don't want just one more time.